On the news, federal government says despite ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict, relations with both countries remains intact. FEC approves 853 million naira for the rehabilitation of Ajaokuta Steel Company ahead of concession process. And Nigerian troops destroy criminal hideouts, hand over recovered weapons to a government agency. Well, glad to have you join us on News Now. I am Mary Kanu. The federal government has said, notwithstanding the current conflict between Russia and Ukraine, Nigeria's very good diplomatic relations with both countries remains intact and will be willing to take up offers that would benefit the citizens of the country. The Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Gabriel Aduda, made the statement while speaking at the 36th session of the State House briefing on Thursday at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. Aduda added that Nigerian students whose programs were interrupted by the Russia-Ukraine conflict would continue their studies online and physically in other universities that have offered admission to students who wish to continue elsewhere.
But Nigeria has not broken relations with Russia. And there are several connections between Russia and Nigeria on many issues. Education is one. So I want you to appreciate, it's not like Nigeria is at war with Russia. Russia remains a member of the United Nations Security Council and a member of the United Nations. It is a significant player in world politics, and in the next week, there may be no problem between Russia and Ukraine. And how do you start your relations with Russia again? So it's a balancing act. It's not like we have reached a point where Russia is so evil that Nigeria says we are so good we cannot even talk to it. Or we cannot eat food because it's produced in Russia. So, or we cannot take gas because it's Russian produced. So I think balance is key in diplomacy. Just understand your moral approach is right. And Nigeria has been very clear as to that action of attack was unacceptable, and we stood by the world on this matter. But whether Nigerian students, young people think they want to study Russian language in Russia, or they want to study medicine in Russia, should go there, and we say no because Russia is a bad actor, Nigerian students should not go. I think that's a different point of view. I just want you to understand it's a balancing act in relation to several other facets of relationships between us and Russia, between us and Ukraine.
Also speaking at the briefing, Minister of State for Foreign Affairs Zubairu Dada assured that the process to ensure that Itunu Babalola, the late 21-year-old Nigerian trader who was wrongfully jailed in Ivory Coast and died in custody late last year, gets justice, was still on.
Again, we have insisted that an autopsy be done on the corpse, which I guess was also done. And we are also raising issues where we are not fully satisfied. We are raising issues with the appropriate authorities to ensure that justice is done. So even in death, we are not leaving the matter to go. We are still pursuing the appeal in court, and because that is the only resort that we have. We cannot take the laws into our hands. In Ivory Coast, we can only, whether they jail her wrongly or rightly, it is their law, which we have to respect. We have no choice over the matter. And again, diplomacy is the only way to go.
The Federal Executive Council, FEC, has approved the engagement of transaction advisors for consultancy services for the concession of the Ajaokuta Steel Company Limited, as well as the National Iron Ore Mining Complex in Itakpe in the sum of 853.2 million naira. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, on behalf of the Minister of Mines and Steel Development, disclosed this at the end of the Federal Executive Council meeting chaired by President Muhammadu Buhari. The Information Minister noted that the ongoing development is a significant move to resuscitating both the Ajaokuta Steel Company and the Iron Ore Company in Itakpe, Kogi State. Well, more details in this next report. Presiding over the Federal Executive Council meeting, President Muhammadu Buhari began by swearing in 4 new permanent secretaries. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, alongside some ministers, were physically present to witness the oath taken. The 4-decade-old Ajaokuta Steel project took prominence at the council meeting. After an initial delay caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, the Ajaokuta Steel Company is expected to come alive after an announcement by the Information Minister Lai Mohammed that 853 million naira was approved by FEC to revive the project.
We believe that with this development, would have made significant steps in bringing back to life both the Ajaokuta Steel Complex and the Iron Ore Company in Itakpe, and fast forward the industrial revolution of Nigeria.
Council also approved the 2022 revised energy policy that seeks to harness the abundant energy sources and utilize them to enhance productivity and also improve electricity supply across the country.
Electricity has flexibility, and there is ease in transmission and distribution is of critical importance to any nation. And we know that in terms of energy supply, we have had a lot of deficit. But we also believe that by effectively utilizing our energy resources, we'll be in a position to improve on energy supply in our country.
An aggregate of 10 billion naira and $25 million was also approved by FEC towards the escalation of electricity supply in the country.
The third approval is a contract to also design, manufacture, and construction and installation of 260-kilometer transmission line from Birnin Kebbi through Zuru to Yauri in Kebbi State at the cost of also 2 components, offshore and the onshore. The offshore is $25.8 million and the onshore is 10.2 billion naira.
As the nation's power sector continues with its epileptic outputs, the Minister of Power, Abubakar Aliyu, expressed optimism that the Presidential Power Initiative remains on course to deliver on incremental power supply despite the setbacks with reported sabotage on power infrastructure. Mary Kanu, TV360, Nigeria. And also security matters. To discourage the rising spate of kidnapping and abduction for ransom, a menace now spreading across the country. The Nigerian Senate has passed the bill seeking to amend the Terrorism Prevention Act of 2013 to prohibit the payment of ransom to kidnappers in the country. The amendment bill was passed for the third and final time on Wednesday after the Senate considered a report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters. Chairman of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters, Senator Opeyemi Bamidele, in his presentation said the bill seeks to outlaw the payment of ransom to abductors, kidnappers and terrorists for release of any person who has been wrongfully confined, imprisoned or kidnapped. The bill imposes a jail term of at least 15 years for payment of ransom to rescue kidnapped victims and also the crime of abduction, punishable by death in cases where victims die. Well, to give further insight into this development, Liberato Shoma, legal expert, joins us on the news. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Now, I must ask, how difficult do you think it will be to enforce this act, seeing that the country and security agencies are clearly rated poorly when it comes to rescuing kidnapped victims?
Let's not delude ourselves. This law is not meant to be implemented here because the legal framework for its internal execution is lacking and absent here. I think it is basically aimed at freezing of terrorist funds and assets to also bring us at par with what is obtainable in other countries. For example, I know they are more concerned, even Bamidele Okoyemi also said it while presenting the bill, that they are more concerned about the need to review the Terrorism Prevention Act because of the unfavorable rating of the Financial Task Force recently about Nigerians when they did an evaluation of financial transactions in Nigeria. And so it is more of what is, for me, I think this law is more of a face-saving mechanism for the Nigerian anti-money laundering and counterfeiting financing terrorism regime in order to align with the required standard as obtainable in other jurisdictions. If you remember, Bamidele emphasized on the need so that Nigeria will not be sanctioned when it comes to, some financial transactions. So because it is clear, even the layman in Nigeria know fully well that, you cannot begin to criminalize payment of ransom when you even don't have the ability and the capacity to rescue people that have been kidnapped. Payment of ransom is, a way of rescuing of the victim's family or friends, rescuing a kidnapped victim when efforts had failed, all the other efforts had failed. So a situation where the government does not have, the panacea to arresting the situation, and then the only solution that is available to the victims, you now criminalize it. For me, it's ordinarily not meant to be implemented. It's a face-saving international, sentiment by the government. So
all right,
it will
now
be
I must ask you, from all you've said, the act was triggered by unfavorable ratings of the Financial Task Force. Now, would you say this move by the government, by the federal government, will yield favorable results in the long run?
You said what? I didn't get that question.
All right, from all you said, that the act was triggered by unfavorable ratings of the Financial Task Force. Now, this move by the government, would you say in the long run it would yield favorable results?
Yeah, the only way it can be favorable is if for the government, if government step up its effort at, eradicating, rescuing kidnapped victims. In other societies where you have these laws in place, the moment somebody is kidnapped, they deploy every resources of the state to ensure that that person is rescued. And so, because the state has the capacity to rescue any victim, the state can criminalize payment of ransom. But here, we have not even put in place the capacity, the mechanism for rescuing victims. So I do not see, until we do that, we cannot be talking about the favorability. Mind you, even the people that we are trying to impress with this act, they know what is obtainable here. They have their embassies here. They have their on-ground assessors here. So the law can just be a paper tag, and at the end of the day, it's not implemented. So the people who are going to assess you anyway already know that most of these laws are just window dressing, and they are largely complied with. Yeah. So at the end of the day, head or tail, if we do not do the right thing, then there's nothing, even the ratings will still not be favorable, because the way we handle financial transaction here is usually very questionable.
Well, Liberos Oshoma, legal expert, thank you for your time and your contribution. Well, still in security matters, the Defense Headquarters has disclosed that about 517 small arms and light weapons have been handed over to the Coordinator North Central Zone of the National Center for the Control of Small Arms and Light Weapons. The Director, Defense Media Operations, Major General Bernard Onyuko, made a disclosure at a press briefing on the activities of the Nigerian troops across the various theaters of operation in the country. According to Onyuko, the weapons were recovered from bandits and other criminal elements by the troops of Operation Safe Haven in Jos during one of its successful raids to stamp out criminal activities and the recovery of numerous illicit weapons. Onyuko further said the continued clampdown on the activities of all thieves and other economic saboteurs yielded positive results following the discovery of illegal refinery site and the recovery of millions of liters of crude oil.
The Joint Security Forces of the Nigeria and Niger Republic successfully destroyed the 5 gun trucks. Similarly also, troops arrested one Abdul Razak Hudu, a logistics supplier to the Islamic West African Province terrorist at Ntumbu village in Gasa local government area of Taraba State. Consequently, own troops recovered 49 AK-47 rifles, 4 machine guns, 1 G3 rifle, 3 mortar bombs, 1 anti-aircraft gun, and about 1,000 rounds of 7.62 mm special ammunition, 11 Dane guns, and other items of ammunition. Other items recovered include 7 motorcycles, 31 bicycles, 4 heavy-duty generators, some canoes, tricycles, motorcycles, and other items, including phones, grinding machines, and large sums of money.
And in politics, the presidential aspirant of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Governor Yahaya Bello, has picked up his expression of interest and nomination form to contest for the 2023 presidential election. Bello, who was the first to pay the 100 million naira required for the forms, was received by a mammoth crowd of party faithful and support groups from across the country who have been urging him to run for president. Speaking to journalists after obtaining the forms, Governor Bello said if given the opportunity to take over the affairs of the country after the tenure of President Muhammadu Buhari, he will restore hope to the entire country and Africa at large.
Today we have picked our intent and nomination form for the position of president or presidential flag bearer of our great party, the All Progressives Congress. And today I am happy, Nigerians are happy, and the party is happy for that. Right now, what we have ahead of us is the task of canvassing and consulting all party faithfuls, leaders, stalwarts, delegates, members, and even all Nigerians from our home and across in diaspora to give us a support, to support us so that we become the flag bearer of this great party come 30th and 31st of May 2023.
Similarly, the Minister of State for Education, Emeka Wajuba, has also declared his interest to run for presidency in the 2023 general elections. Wajuba made the declaration in Abuja shortly after receiving the nomination and expression of interest forms of the All Progressives Congress, a coalition of youths under the country under the aegis of Project Nigeria Group purchased the forms for the minister. While receiving the forms, Wajuba explained that his decision to run for the presidency was recognition of President Muhammadu Buhari's performance in the last 7 years.
I want to also thank Mr. President, our President Muhammadu Buhari, who in the course of the 20 years that I have been in his political household has offered me the opportunity to learn and a platform to offer my little effort in service of our fatherland, Nigeria. In the nearly 200 universities across Nigeria, the federal government owns less than 50. of these universities. The state governments own nearly a 50 of them as well. Whereas private individuals and private organizations, faith-based organizations, own another 100 plus. The only part where children are not in school at the moment are the ones that belong to the federal government. So there is no need for any other university to be at home. The engagement with ASU has been a long drawn one based on the 2009 agreement that was signed before we came into government.
Well, we'll take a break now, but still to come, the International Monetary Fund says Ukraine war fallout could fuel unrest in Africa. We'll bring you details of the story and more right after this break. Welcome back. A recap of our top stories tonight. The federal government has said, notwithstanding the current conflicts between Russia and Ukraine, Nigeria's very good diplomatic relations with both countries remains intact and will be willing to take up offers that would benefit the citizens of the country. The Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Gabriel Aduda, made the statement while speaking at the 36th session of the State House briefing on Thursday at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. We also told you that the Federal Executive Council (FEC) has approved the engagement of transaction advisors for consultancy services for the concession of the Ajaokuta Steel Company Limited, as well as the National Iron Ore Mining Complex in Itakpe, in the sum of 853.2 million naira. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, on behalf of the Minister of Mines and Steel, disclosed this at the end of the Federal Executive Council meeting chaired by President Muhammadu Buhari. Well, in case you missed any of our news bulletin or for more updates, to log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube and Google Plus at TV360 Nigeria. On Facebook, we're at TV360 Online. And the Center for Epidemic Response and Innovation has announced a new wave of coronavirus pandemic in South Africa. The Genomics Research Center, headed by virologist Tulio de Oliveira, who became famous for spotting the Beta and Omicron variants, announced the warning in a tweet on the center's official Twitter handle. South Africa is officially the continent's most affected country by COVID-19. According to the National Institute of Communicable Diseases, the number of new infections in the last 24 hours is still up compared to the last few days, with 5,062 cases, 15 deaths and 83 hospitalizations. We'll take a break and return with business updates. To stay with us. Welcome back. It's time for business news and stock market review with Abisola Adebayo. Abisola, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mary. Welcome to business news. The subsidy on premium motor spirit petrol between January and March 2022 has risen to 675.9 billion naira. This is according to latest data from the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPC. The NNPC has also informed the Federation Account Allocation Committee, FAC, that it will deduct or recover 671.8 8 billion naira from April 2022 proceeds due for sharing at the May 2022 FAC meeting. It described the funds as a value shortfall incurred by the NNPC as the oil firm has remained the sole importer of petrol into the country and has subsidized the commodity using billions of naira monthly. Well, we'll take a break now and return with a review of the stock market. The local buzz continued yesterday's positive sentiment as recorded a whopping 0.55% gain, occasioned by sell-offs and buying interest from investors today. The most traded stock today, Multiverse, led the Advancers League after a share price increased from 20 kobo to 22 kobo. It was closely followed by consumer goods giant Cadbury Nigeria PLC, which rose from 8 naira 50 kobo to 9 naira 25 kobo after adding 85 kobo. On the flip side, Champion and FTN Cocoa led the losers counter as they recorded a combined 19 kobo loss. In 5,032 deals, investors exchanged 759 million units of shares valued at 5.5 billion naira. Well, it's a clean shave today. Let's see how the market session in the last remaining session of the week turns out. On the foreign scene, European shares moved further as forecast beating results from companies including energy major Total Energies and automaker Volvo Car helped set aside worries about slowing global economic growth. Wall Street main indexes rose on Thursday also as strong earnings from Meta platforms lifted Bata technology and growth stocks and offset concerns around the contraction in U.S. economic growth in the first quarter. Japan stocks Nikkei in the same vein is recording positive sentiment as it recorded a 1.75% increase at the close of trading today. That's all on stock market reports. Back to you, Mary, for the rest of the news.
Well, thank you for that update, Abisola. Now on the global scene, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, has warned of a looming food crisis that may spark social unrest in sub-Saharan Africa as a fallout of the war in Ukraine. The IMF in a recent report pointed out that the war has caused a sharp increase in energy and food prices, which could undermine food security in the region, raise poverty rates, increase income inequality, and possibly lead to social unrest. The report also revealed that the war has stalled growth momentum seen in the second half of 2021 as countries continue to battle the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, worsening insecurity in several countries, and climate-related shocks. And now in sports, the Golden Eaglets have begun screening in preparation for their under-17 WAFU tournament in Ghana under the supervision of new coach Nduka Ugagbe. The WAFU tournament, which serves as the qualifiers for 2023 under-17 AFCON in Algeria, will take place in Cape Coast, Ghana from June 11 to 24, and only the two finalists of the tournament will qualify for the under-17 AFCON. Training took place at the FIFA Goal Project in Package B of the MKO Abiola National Stadium in Abuja, with as many as 100 young players training for their luck in the morning session. The Golden Eaglets, who are five-time world champions, will be in Ghana in June for a sub-regional tournament that will serve as qualifiers for the 2023 Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations, which will be hosted by Algeria. And that's the size of a news bulletin. Thank you for watching. I am Mary Kanu. Bye for now.